Hey, this is Rick Brandenburg for Turf Bugs and Rock and Roll. And it's fall, and a lot of times in fall we still have a few lingering pest problems. For example, with insects, we may still have fire ants, we may have white grubs, we may have some mole crickets causing some problems, and a few others. But typically in fall we begin to kind of forget all about insect problems. And one of the things that I've always talked about is at the end of the season, while it's still fresh in your mind, really consider the pest issues you dealt with and try to see which approaches, which techniques you use, which products you used, how well they really worked. And so that way, if you weren't really satisfied with it, maybe during the winter you can look into some more things, some more options. And so for the following year in 2021, you can develop better strategies that are more cost effective, and you can get better control of the various pest problems you have. Well, another thing we need to think about is the cultural practices that we employ and how they may contribute to pest problems. And, you know, I'm not an expert in diseases and weeds, but I know irrigation, mowing height, all those sorts of things, fertility, they can impact weed and disease issues. And the same is really true for insects. And if you really think about where you had problems and perhaps why you had them, maybe during the wintertime you can make some decisions on how you want to adjust some cultural practices. And a classic example of that would be green June beetle grubs. And green June beetle grubs are an unusual pest. They come to the surface at night, they tunnel, they feed on organic matter, on thatch, and they loosen the soil all up. So they're a little bit unusual. But here's what we do know about green June beetles. They love organic matter and moist soil. So if you have a situation where you consistently have green June beetle grubs every September, October, even into November, one option you might consider is, am I doing things that contribute to these populations? And if you have a lot of thatch, if you have a lot of organic matter, it makes the area more attractive for the adult beetles to come in and lay their eggs. And if you over-irrigate it, just simply the moisture makes it more attractive of a place for them to lay their eggs, and the eggs will survive. So if you can manage your organic matter, manage your thatch, regulate your irrigation a little bit better, there's a likelihood that you can actually reduce the possibility of getting green June beetle grubs next year if it's a real issue for you. Another thing we know, and I have nothing against the use of organic fertilizers. In fact, I use some of them myself, but organic fertilizers can attract certain insects. And one example would be the green June beetles are attracted to where they smell the aroma of organic fertilizers, because that's like a cue for them that there's a lot of organic matter in there. And you could set up plots where one area you treat with organic fertilizer, say in July and August when the beetles are flying, in another area you do not treat. And I almost guarantee you'll have more grubs in the area where you use organic fertilizers. So I'm not saying don't use organic fertilizers, but perhaps if you have consistent green June beetle problems, don't use them during the months of June or July and August when the beetles are flying around looking for good places to lay their eggs. So, you know, there's cultural practices we can use to help reduce the likelihood. It doesn't eliminate the threat. In fact, here, this is back behind my house. This is a Bermuda grass area that's actually relatively low maintenance. It gets very little fertilizer. It gets no irrigation, but there's really not much thatch and organic matter. And yet I got green June beetles just like crazy this past year. And part of that was because we had so much rain. There are no guarantees, but certainly with many of our insect pests, there are cultural practices, just like we use in weed management and disease management, to reduce the likelihood of a pest problem. Hope that helps. Look forward to talking with you again soon.